Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Hurdle the Line. This is your wildcard weekend preview. We've had 18 different, well, 17 because we had a week off, but 17 game week previews, and now we're on to the playoffs, lads. Three of us in very different positions here right now going into the weekend. Karl, you can put your feet up, relax, have a drink. None of this matters to you. I can put my feet up, somewhat relax, because I've got to wait till next week. And Sam, you're in the thick of it.
All right,
Gent,
KSI.
gent, how are we feel? How are we feeling? How are we feeling this week? And how are we feeling going into the wildcard weekend?
Listen, my team's out of it. I don't need to stress about it anymore. I love the playoffs when it reaches the postseason. Exciting time. Lots of amazing games to talk about and look out for. And yeah, listen, look, I love the NFL just as much as I love much as I love the Patriots. So sitting there and just watching football as a neutral is just a blessing. As long as it's an entertaining game and not a bore fest. That's the only thing I that's the only thing I request. But no, it's good to be able to just sit back, chill, relax, and just act like a neutral.
Yeah. Sam?
I have to talk about the flipping Jets a little bit more.
Um, yeah, I mean, I don't think I'm. I'm weirdly not like nervous about the playoffs because the way I see it, because of the way we finished the season, and now we're the fourth seed and having to go up against the Vikings. I don't see us. We're not the favourites to win that game. So to
Yeah.
me, it's like if we lose that game, then we weren't expected to win it anyway, and I wouldn't expect us to beat the Vikings in the form that they've been in. But I always think we're a very dangerous team in the playoffs, no matter who we face.
Yeah.
And McVay knows how to play in the playoffs. He's been there before. So my more concern at the moment, and I think probably you probably find with a lot of Rams fans, is what's going on in LA at the moment.
Yeah.
Is a lot more of a bigger concern. So um, obviously we'll come on to that when we talk about where the game's potentially going to be played. But yeah, so I think it's football's taking a bit of a backseat in the LA Rams camp at the moment, with what's going on in America.
Completely understandable as well. Completely understandable. Something we'll get onto in a second as we rattle through the news. But first off, um, we do well. I say need to. We will give a start by giving a shout out to our sponsors. That was a fantasy game day, the first and only NFL daily fantasy app made by UK fans for UK fans. Create your lineup, manage your budget, and compete against fellow UK fans, and maybe even win a little bit of cash in the process. Just head to the fantasygameday.app and Carl, where did I put that description?
Down
Where did
there
I put that
somewhere.
link? Where did I put that link?
It's
Down
down
there,
there.
down there in the
It's
description.
it's down there somewhere.
Um, unless you're on an audio only podcast platform, in which case it's in the description of the episode in the app. Once you click on the link, download the app, sign up at the very bottom using code HRDLE. That is HRDLE, hurdle without the U.
However, there is no hurdle the line without you.
And receive a
Got it
free
right this
play.
time.
Receive a free play worth £7.50 once you deposit and play for the first time. You must be over the age of 18. Please gamble responsibly when the fun stops. Stop. And we didn't even rehearse this. We not even rehearsed this. This was just pure natural instinct that we all played off there. Well done, boys. Got through it. Now, with that in mind, I see there is a bit of news coming out in the NFL this week that on top of Monday. Now, the vast majority of it pertains to our two main topics of discussion today. So we'll try and rattle through it and then we can get through a bit more of it when we get onto the topics. The first one and the most important thing being, as Sam alluded to in the introduction of the episode, right now across LA and across multiple parts of California, there are wildfires spreading and spreading rapidly. It's a horrific and horrendous situation going on. And yeah, for all football aside, there are lots of there are real people here trapped in a very, very horrible situation. Um, and I was like I said, thoughts and whatnot of everyone at the network, with everybody going through it right now, especially the first responders and the people involved in trying to tackle it, as well as the people involved who live there, whose houses and homes and livelihoods are all being destroyed right now. Sam, I feel like you are more than anyone connected to LA in general, but also you follow a lot more LA, like things going on within LA. What what's the feeling like around people in LA? What's going on? Like, do you know much about what's going on there at the moment?
I think a lot of it is it's from what I've heard. I think a lot of people are just very concerned with what's going on, and there's a lot of rumors flying around that there's potential like the way it's obviously like the hills around Hollywood have started to go as well now, and there's talk that there's potential eco-terrorism around it. Um, we don't know. At the end of the day, the most important thing is obviously people are safe or
Yeah.
get themselves safe. I know that was it a couple of days ago that they issued a warning for everyone to evacuate certain areas around the Palisades. I think that was the use. But in terms of sort of, I suppose, although obviously football takes a backseat when these sorts of things happen, um, the news around obviously with LA being in the heart of where this all is happening,
Yeah.
um, the talk from, or at least the news that was announced from the team a couple of hours ago, is that the game will still go ahead at SoFi Stadium, but they have got contingencies in place if for whatever reason they no longer can use SoFi. um, I think the essentially what that will be is that the team go and play the game at Glendale, Arizona,
Yeah.
where it's obviously that's nothing's happening over there. So obviously it's is that State Farm Arena, I think
State
that
Farm
is. So
Stadium.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
State Farm
so
Stadium, man.
that's
So
sort of the news, I suppose, really. But I
yeah,
think a lot of people are just they're not thinking of football at the moment, which is
no.
probably the most sensible thing to do.
Yeah. Well, we received the statement from the NFL that they put out, the public statement that they put out earlier on the Vikings Rams game, and it says the NFL's priority is the safety of the Los Angeles community. We are grateful for the tireless efforts of the first responders. Our hearts are with Los Angeles and everyone affected by the fires. We continue to prepare to play the Vikings Rams game as scheduled on Monday night at SoFi Stadium. As with all games, there are contingency plans in the event of a change in location is needed. In this instance, the game would be played on Monday night at State Farm Stadium in Glendale, Arizona, if necessary. We will continue to closely monitor the developments in the area and will remain in contact with the public officials, both clubs and the NFLPA. That's the official statement put out by the NFL, verbatim. Um, as you see, like it's not very often a game does have to be rescheduled, particularly at short notice. This isn't the first time, though, in my time watching as a fan of the sport, and I'm pretty sure it was during your time as well, there, Sam, that a Rams game itself has had to be changed its location within the last minute. It was the one of the greatest games of all time, Rams Chiefs, had to be changed from Mexico City to LA at the last minute. I distinctly remember, I think it was last year or the year before, a Bills game had to be rehoused to Ford Field at quite last minute notice. It's not very often, but it does happen.
Yeah,
And it's always good that they've got that option. And look, for the city of Arizona, at least you'll get to see a playoff game. Um, they hosted the Super Bowl a couple of years ago as well, didn't they?
they did.
So turn off the sound for that. Don't need Discord notifications interrupting us. Other than that, we've got some head coaching news. If you refresh the page, now I've updated it. Now we have on our little website, we have our own little head coaching GM tracker going on. 6 vacancies are available right now with the Bears, the Jags, the Patriots, the Raiders, the Saints, and the Jets, and 3 general manager vacancies: the Jets, the Raiders, and the Titans. The Titans sacked their GM, I believe it was on Tuesday, so it would have been just missed by the Monday night crew. And the Raiders announced it earlier today that they were firing their GM, Tom Telesco. The Jets, well, theirs has been fired for a bloody long time. The Bears are the most active at the moment in requesting interviews. They've just judging by here, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 interviews have been requested, and only out of those 10, two have been in two out well, three have been interviewed. And a few more are going to be interviewed over the next day or so. The Jags have got five, I believe, requests in. Might be a couple more. Need to update it. The Raiders have already started on theirs. The Patriots have requested a few and interviewed a few, and the same with the Saints and the Jets. We'll go off the latest news that Monday night did not get to cover. Raiders and Titans firing the GM. What are your thoughts, particularly on the Titans one? Because I didn't see this one coming. I feel like he's done. Oh, what's his name? Ran Carthen. Ran Carthen has done a pretty decent job in Tennessee. Oh, also Antonio Pierce was fired. That was only a couple of days ago. But I like the job that Ran Carthen's done, and I don't think he can be blamed for Will Levis just being Will Levis this year.
I think from what I've read, the reasoning behind it is they've spent a fair bit of money bringing people in, the likes of Calvin Ridley. They brought in L'Jarius Sneed on a fairly sizable contract. Obviously, probably the one thing that got in their favor was the whole Ernest Jones stuff,
Yeah.
getting him in for a sixth and getting him out for a fourth or something.
Yeah.
I think it's more the overall recruitment. I think there. I mean, it's like fair enough. But I mean, they brought in DeAndre Hopkins. He didn't do anything really, and they had to get rid of him. And it's like I think it's just an accumulation of poor decisions that have, like like I say, you can't always like we say with Will Levis, you can't determine that he's going to do badly. Like you maybe could have scouted maybe a bit better and looked somewhere else, but rookie QB the first year and then obviously in his second year. But I think it's just the overall picture. It's not like if you think where the Tennessee were under Vrabel and where they are now,
Yeah.
it doesn't feel like they've gone anywhere. Like Traylon Burks has not been the player we all thought he was going to be coming out of college, but they've not done anything to really fix the problems. And I think that's what the problem is that they got rid of pieces. Obviously, you can think AJ Brown, Derrick Henry, and then tried to replace them with players that didn't really work. And it seemed very ad hoc and a bit all over the place. There didn't seem to be like a structured plan.
Yeah.
So I can kind of see why they went for it and why they decided to go for a new GM, maybe sort of like get a new GM, get a new way of trying to have a new path through going forwards, and maybe look at it, especially with them having the second or third pick. Where are they pick wise?
Can I just
First, they've got this number one pick, haven't they?
Can I just stop in there quickly, Sam? So you say about Traylon Burks has not been the player that he hasn't panned out to be. Ron Kafkan didn't come in until 2023. Traylon Burks came in at
Was he
2022.
2022?
So he had nothing to do with that draft class of
Not
Traylon
not
Burks, Roger
necessarily the
McCreary.
pick itself. It was more the aftermath of the fact that, like, obviously Traylon Burks in his first season wasn't good, and then from then they've not really come in and done anything to like the ones that they brought in to fix the problem haven't worked out. And I think that's more is the expensive purchases or the expensive contracts offered out for players that haven't worked out.
I do believe DeAndre Hopkins got 1,000 yards when he was in Tennessee.
Did he?
He did.
Didn't feel like he did.
I don't know because I was pestering your college pod co-host Nick about this on our pod.
He did 1,057 yards in 2023.
Ooh,
Um, 17 games played, 16 games
Do you know
started,
what I think
seven.
that? Do you know what I think that might? Why I think it was also the part when Mike Vrabel got fired as well.
Yeah,
It was when they traded AJ Brown. That
yeah,
I think that was the nail in the coffin
well,
for Vrabel
well,
because the GM traded AJ Brown away and they were patchworking with DeAndre Hopkins, and the two receivers they got in the draft were woeful. Was it in 2023? They had seventh round pick Colton Dowell. He was at 228, didn't do anything at all. And then in the draft just happened, their only receiver they drafted was Jaquan Jackson, who ended up getting waived. The Patriots picked him up, put him on the practice squad, and then we waived him. So they
yeah.
haven't
yeah.
really addressed the issue.
Um, so my one thing I would say with the firing of Vrabel being a big contentious one, because Vrabel was not doing badly. And Vrabel was one of the more shocking firings of the last few years that I
Yes.
can remember, where everyone just kind of goes, "Whoa, where did that come from?" I don't know. Everything came out about him. Apparently, he was rude, and apparently, he was this and whatnot. It ended up being everything about that was around personal perspective. Someone thought he was rude, someone thought he was fine. But Vrabel's firing was shocking. And I think he had to go and justify sacking Vrabel, who maybe wasn't his guy, or maybe he thought things could be done. But you've got to go up and say, right, I'm going to sack Vrabel. Why? I don't think he's doing enough. I think we need to get someone new in and fresh in. Right, well, you've got to bloody succeed with it then. It's got to be the
Yeah.
right decision. And then they've gone and been the worst team in the NFL on the objective scale.
Tennessee's defense under Vrabel was quite stout. I think that was the best part for Tennessee. The defense was quite stout, but I think his hiring of an offensive coordinator wasn't great. Todd Downing, I think, was one of them. I mean, he hasn't panned out well at all. So
Um,
Especially if you look,
you could argue he got fired because the offense wasn't putting up the points, it wasn't being as productive as it should be. But at the same time, I don't believe that was Vrabel's fault.
they also stacked the defense in the last draft, didn't they? Like
yeah,
He
the
did.
players they brought in Devondre Sweat in the second round.
yeah,
They brought in Cedric Gray,
Hmm.
Jarvis Brownlee, who's a cornerback, uh, James Williams, and Jalen Harrell. So they had, of all their picks, bar JC Latham, who was the OT, and that wide receiver who did
Ja
absolutely zero.
Jaquan Jackson.
Yeah,
yeah.
it was all defensive picks. And
There
although
were
they've
three
been,
wins.
yeah, although they've been okay, no, they've not been great on defense really, but they've not been the worst defense in the league, shall we say. They still seem to have regressed defensively, but not a lot. But their offense is pretty much non-existent, and I think that's the worry is that, like I say, they bring in who's their current head coach at the moment.
Callahan,
Brian Callahan.
Callahan.
So I just think it's just messy. I think it's
Yeah,
just whether that's down to obviously the decisions they've made. It doesn't seem like there's ever been a plan. Like you talk about obviously needing to have like forward planning and all of this. There wasn't any in my eyes. Like so, it's just
yeah.
been let's patch that up. Let's bring in Calvin Ridley. Yeah, that looks good. Let's you
I've
know
always said if you're gonna fire the, I was gonna say if you fire the head coach, you fire the GM, depending how the GM does. If the GM hasn't done any good and the coach hasn't done any good, then you both fire them. I don't like this idea of keeping one of them and trying to patchwork the other by replacing some because that coach might not gel with the GM.
hmm.
Why the hell would you? It's the equivalent of a shotgun marriage. Why would you do that?
It's like with anything. If the talent's there, but the talent's not producing, that's a coaching issue.
Hmm.
If the
There's no
team,
talent.
if the talent's bad, no, I say if the talent's bad, and the coaching is okay. It's kind of doing the best with what you can clearly see that the coach is just doing the best with what it's got. That's a GM issue, and that I'd say there you probably have your answer though. If the coach has got no talent to work with, then the GM's not, and the people responsible for that side of it are the ones not doing their job.
Mm.
And like I said, I do think there is a level of if you fire someone like Vrabel, you've got to answer for that. And if it doesn't pan out and clearly does not work, sure, that's it's a decision that you've got to answer for.
Hmm.
Mm.
Um, but yeah, and with the Raiders, they've cleaned house. They've got rid of both Antonio Pierce and Tom Telesco. Antonio Pierce being one of the ones. Well, again, that's the second head coach firing after one season this year. Granted, it's slightly different from Jared Mayo in the fact that Antonio Pierce at least did have a little bit of time as the interim head coach. That one has been, although you can't argue with what's happened on the field and they haven't been great. Antonio Pierce is a very well loved person in Las Vegas. He is a Raiders fan through and through. He grew up a Raiders fan. I think he grew up in Oakland. He's pretty much spent his whole career with the Raiders. And the whole locker room loved him. And the one thing you can't take away from him is that although they weren't very good, and maybe some of the coaching was questionable, they played for him. Best believe they were constantly playing for him. But is that the right decision to get rid of Antonio Pierce after 1 year?
I think it feels more whether you think Antonio Pierce should have stayed in the job or not. It just feels like a full reset,
Yeah.
and it feels like a. I don't want to say that. I mean, we don't know what's going on in terms of the decision making, but it feels like there's maybe been some input from Brady in terms of let's start again because he came in at the start of the season and things were already as they were. Maybe this feels like a should we reset this and sort this out sort of thing. That's how it feels to me. And to be honest, you know, QBs are crap. Wide receivers are okay-ish. One is
Their best one is Jacoby
their best
Myers.
wide receiver is a tight end.
Yeah.
Tight end they can go brilliant. We've got one of the better tight ends in the league. Fair defense,
Oh,
meh. Bar Max Crosby.
I want to say, all you've got there is Max Crosby.
All you got
So
is Max Crosby,
Yeah,
yeah, the rest of it is a bag of refugees.
yeah.
So whoever's going to go there to be head coach and
Well,
GM,
the
they've
same as
got
Spillane's all right.
what linebacker?
Yeah, he's all right.
Yeah, Spillane. Yeah, well, he was a former Steeler, so yeah, I could probably. Yeah, I'll give
Yeah,
you that. I'll give you that.
but yeah, the rest of them are next to dog water.
yeah.
Um, so yeah, they've got a lot to work with. They've not really got a running core. They don't have a wide receiver core. Yeah,
No,
it needs a full reset.
I believe their best running back in the whole team is Amir Abdullah.
And
And
he's in this,
when the
and
Lions had,
he's in his 10th year in the NFL now.
which by the way, you can't take that away from them. They're clearly something they've got, whether it's talent or maybe some shady information on Roger Goodell. Either way, you can't shame the fact that they've been in the NFL for 10 years. They've clearly that is a massive achievement in itself. A career in the NFL is 3 years on average. So, but to add into that, like he wasn't even our running back one when we had no running game, and he's the running back one in Las Vegas, right? It doesn't sit right with me that your best running back's Amir Abdullah. The excuse me the Raiders' job though, and this is where I think you've got. I guess. Well, actually, do you know what? I'm going to use this as an opportunity to go into the first segment that I planned for us. So, gents, all three of us have just put ourselves out there as potential head coaches, right? Someone in the NFL league office fucked up, and we've all got interviews at all six.
You could have put it a bit more professionally. Anyway, carry on.
Someone in the NFL office shit the bed.
There we go.
There we go. we've all got interviews. Now, in three separate universes, Carl, you've been offered all six teams, $12 million a year to be a head coach. Sam, you've got the same offer, and I have got the same offer. The Bears, the Jags, the Raiders, the Patriots, the Saints, and the Jets have all offered each of us $12 million to be the head coach. Which job are you taking if possible? Like, which is your most favored destination to go and coach? Which is your least favorite destination to go and coach? I will throw it out there and I'm going to ask Carl, I'm going to ask you first.
Hmm.
Where is the best place for you? Where do you most want to go and be a head coach out of those six locations?
Try and not put bias into it.
That's what I'm trying to
I'm
think.
going to
I'm
say
trying to think.
not.
How can I do this without being biased?
No.
This might be
Okay.
hard.
Okay. What I might. Okay, that's what she said. The It was a layup. That was charity. I took it. I don't care. The If
I just
possible,
threw you a meatball down the fucking plate
if
there.
if possible, try and take you being a Patriots fan out of it. If not, if you
All right,
can't
all right,
completely take the Patriots off the
yeah,
table.
take the Patriots off the table there. Then we're clear. Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. I will say Chicago is the most is the place that is more intriguing to me. Caleb Williams needs some proper in management coaching. I feel like the whatever Eberflus had done hadn't panned out well for Caleb Williams. Too many times he sits in the pocket and takes a sack instead of trying to do something about it. He goes for his reads far too slowly. This is not the NCAA. You've got to be quick and get that ball out, even if it's a check down to the back. The weapons that they've actually got are still pretty decent. Keelan Allen can still put up numbers. DJ Moore, they traded a lot. They got a trade in to go and get DJ Moore, right? So there's DJ Moore there. They drafted Rome Odunze. I think he's a stud, and I think he's probably the best receiver the Washington had at the time
Mhm.
in the NCAA. Um, and their tight end Cole Kmet, I think on his day can be an absolute stud. Really, really do. They need a bit of their running game's not too bad. DeAndre Swift can do a job. Defensively, I think they're in a really, really good position. But I think it's mostly this is all now down to the offensive line. It is one of the worst in the NFL. Not the worst, but it's one of the worst in the NFL. And you need to call it. You need to coach this quarterback so much in the off season. The only thing that would draw me away from this is you look at it's the division. The Lions under Dan Campbell, the Packers under Matt LaFleur, the Vikings under Kevin O'Connell. They're all 10 plus win teams. And Chicago are circling the drain. That's the only thing that will put me off. Am I going to be able to get this team to compete up there with the other three? That'll be my question going forward. If I decided not to do that one, my second option is the Saints. Partly because that division is sort of competitive in a way. I know the Bucks have won
You can say mid. You can say mid. It's okay.
mid. um, defensively, I still think the Saints have got some good pieces. Obviously, Demario Davis and Cam Jordan might be on their way out, so you might need to replace them in the draft. I think you're in a position to get a defensive tackle, so there's your opportunity there. Um, it has been injuries all over the field on offense. Um, but the quarterback's the issue. Is Spencer Rattler the man to move forward with? Are you keeping Derek Carr? I it's an awkward place. If you try and get the quarterback correctly, it's all about coaching the quarterback and getting the line of the Saints is actually not too bad. I don't think it's bad. It's as bad as everyone says it is. And also the division is a lot more easy to sort of like manipulate in a way. Carolina, they're still a rebuilding team. The Falcons, 7, 8 wins is usually what they are, what they get anyway. Over since they buggered up their last divisional playoff loss to the Eagles, I think it is.
Yeah.
And the Bucks, they win that division by default. So really, the Saints could be the more appealing option, but it all depends how they move forward and what are they willing to. The only downside of the Saints is their cap is on the floor.
Yep.
So that will be my issue. So those are the
And
two I would go for.
I
What
would
would you
s-
go on?
I would say that an equal downfall for the Saints is that they have a top third highest oldest average team in the league.
Need to get younger. They need
Yep.
to get younger.
Their average age is a bullet. Well, I'll say top third. Let me do the maths in my head real. Yeah, it's top third. Top third oldest. They're 22nd, 23rd oldest in the league. That roster.
Then
I'm not sure what it's going to look like come roster cuts and all that sort of stuff. Obviously, you can't really. But as of this year, they were the 22nd, 23rd oldest team in the league.
yeah, we need to get younger.
They've just restructured Ryan Ramsick's contract, and it's believed that he's going to retire at the end of the season, which will be a huge loss for them.
Yeah.
Oh, that's massive. That's so
Um.
now need a replacement center. Okay, right.
Sam. Sam, what are you looking at as a potential favorite job?
I would agree it'd be the Bears. I think the Bears have got a young franchise-made quarterback. Yes, he needs work and he needs a decent, I would say, either a decent OC or a decent QB coach to support him and find ways to get the best out of him. Uh, yeah, wide receiver core is solid. Running back, I think Swift and Rashawn Johnson are a good duo. I'd maybe want to potentially look in the market for one of maybe a running back available. The defense has always been the Bears' strong suit. They've always had a solid defense. And yeah, the O line needs work. But the great thing about the Bears as well is that although they have all those pieces, they still have an 80 million cap space, which I
Yep.
believe is the fifth highest in the league.
Yep.
So if you know that all they've got to potentially look at is maybe bringing in maybe trading a few players from the O line, maybe bringing one on the draft. There's ways that they could do it, and they don't have to. It doesn't have to cost them too much. Um,
Yeah.
like I say, once you sort out that O line, I think it does make life easier for Caleb. But I also think you need to then make sure if I'm going in there, I'd want to make sure I have a very good OC that can bring the best out of a rookie quarterback, because I think the struggle that you can sometimes have is that, like we've said before in previous podcasts, throwing a rookie QB into a team straight off the bat without any plan or anything like that can be really detrimental. So I think you need to have someone. I mean, if it was me and I was being brought in with 12 million, I'd be then going, right, okay, that's fine. Give me someone like Mike LaFleur as the OC or someone like that. Someone,
Yeah.
a, a capable OC or quarterback coach that can mold the offense in a style that is suited to Caleb. Not necessarily, the other players will have to. It needs to be suited to everyone, but needs to be
Yeah.
primed for Caleb to succeed.
I think for me, I when I was looking and breaking down the Bears, I just said talented roster with huge, like very good defense, massive potential on offense, completely underperforming offense. You're going into the second year of a Heisman winning quarterback, and at the end of the day, I don't care what anybody says, you don't win the Heisman for being crap. You just don't. You can't be a crap quarterback and win the Heisman. Caleb, I like Caleb. I think he's very good. The two problems you've got are poor offensive coaching and a terrible O-line that have not allowed Caleb Williams to flourish in the league or have the year that he wants. I think you're absolutely right with um Karl as you're going on saying like that division, as hard as that would be, you've got to walk into a bloodbath division. And it sounds really weird. When we look at college football and you look at the SEC, like how certain teams in the SEC feel almost punished because they're in a division a conference that's so good that they automatically add two, three more losses onto the that's a problem. Whereas, like you say, you could walk into say the Saints in your division's a lot easier to compete in. You walk into yeah, you walk in. I need to say the Jacksonville Jaguars as an example of a division that's very much easy to win, barring CJ Stroud stays on his current trajectory. The AFC South is very much a division that you could walk in and just go, do you know what? I fancy my chances in this one quite nicely. Um, so, but I would say as well with this that one of the biggest problems that one of the hang on, no. I think the Jacksonville Jaguars job is an extremely underrated one. I would
There's a
throw that
lot that you can do there, I think, but I
the
still think it needs a fair bit of work. That's the
oh
problem that
no,
I
it really does. It really does. The Jacksonville Jaguars have the fifth youngest roster in the league.
Mhm.
He goes, I would say that, Fletch, but there is one criminal issue with Jacksonville. We're taking the Jags job.
Oh no,
I don't trust Trent Baalke. How the hell is that guy still in with a job?
I think.
Unless he's got pictures of Shaq Khan in rather inappropriate positions with his secretary, I don't know how the hell he's still got a job.
Well,
49ers fans screamed when Jacksonville got Trent Baalke as GM. 49ers fans said the exact same thing. Be careful what you wish for. This guy's an issue.
well. The thing is though, and if I think absolutely have to take that. That's in my notes, by the way. That's in my notes on the Jags. That GM is a problem, and so is the owner. I don't like. I Shad Khan seems like a very nice person, but I don't think he's a good football owner.
He's not a sports owner. He
He's
shouldn't
not,
be a sports
He's
owner.
not.
he's not a sports
He,
owner, and yeah, no, he's
And
not.
but you have the fifth youngest roster in the league, and you have Trevor Lawrence, who has been underwhelming with flashes of can be really good. You
Mm.
have pieces on that offense that are very good, and they are young pieces that can be and will be probably very good in this league. You have to get someone in who knows how to actually get that offense performing. The defense needs a lot of work. That is a terrible defense, and I'm not that defense didn't underperform. That defense performed to just how bad it actually is. That's gonna take some work, but you've got, and I think the only comparison in I think was I think they've got 44 million in cap space going into 2025. But actually, you've got the fifth youngest roster in the league. You have and the best bit about this, and this is why I dropped in a financial figure. Now, it wasn't necessarily to represent where teams are in the league and whatnot, how much coaches get. I am so taking advantage of no state income tax in Florida. I wanted to see if any of you would bring this up, and none of you have.
Ah, yeah, the that little niche, that
That
little
12
niche.
million
Everyone's
is
fair.
all
That
my
12
12
minutes
million.
all mine. Piss off to the government. Yeah. No, you do have a point with that one, but still, if I walked in, had the interview, and at first I said the first thing I said was, I would like a new GM because I want to work because I don't believe this one's going to help. And if Shaq Khan turns around and says, "No, sorry, we'll keep it Trent Baalke," I'll be like, "Oh, sorry, Robert Kraft is ringing me. I'll be back soon." Yeah, that's basically what I would do.
in terms of, I suppose, looking at it from the other side, what would be the weakest or the job I
Exactly. Yeah.
would not take?
Which one would you not touch?
I would probably say, in terms of Me personally, I wouldn't take the Saints job because they're in this weird position. They have been for a few years, I think, since Peyton left, where their cap space is utterly dreadful, and somehow they still manage to get out of it. But their quarterback is now in a position where they can't really get rid of him. There's no point getting rid of him, and their team is just cruising. Like it's at that point where
Drifting.
they're not.
I'd probably say they're drifting right now. They're
Yeah, they're not.
drifting. They're
They're
drifting
not
in a.
ready to. You're not ready to get rid of players or like do a complete refresh, but you're not. You can't just add a couple of pieces and make it better. It's just there at the moment, and they really. I think for me, the big problem they have is not running on this ability that they can run away from the cap, and the problem they have at that. If once that's sorted and they completely revamp the way that they look at the cap, which is the way I see it, I wouldn't go near that job for now. The other one which I wouldn't go near, but for a very different reason, is the Jets job, purely because of what basically Aaron Rodgers. And if he's not there, then there's potential work. But I do not like the idea of going into that job and having to deal with Aaron Rodgers and deal with Devontae Adams. Like
No.
as a pairing, I just think they seem to think that they control now the Jets and the way the Jets go about it. And I just hate that. So that would be the other one. But I surprisingly wouldn't mind the Raiders job or the Patriots job because I think they're in positions where they know it's a complete solid rebuild.
Well, the
Like
Raiders need a quarterback.
the Raiders need
quarterback.
fucking everything.
And but they do, they do. They're not going to ride with Aiden O'Connell. I
No.
don't see it happening. You look at the draft. You look at the draft board. It's like, is there really anything? They're not really in a position to take a good quarterback. What are you going to do? Wait further down the board and hope, like I don't know, like someone like Jackson Dart is still going to be. It's still going to be available. The old Ole Miss quarterback because he's the only other person, and or maybe Jalen Milrow. Or if you want to start,
Just to let you,
go,
I was going to say, just coming out now, just while we're talking about head coaches, Adam Schefter has come out, and so has Ian Rappaport, saying Patriots completed a head coach interview today with Mike Vrabel in Boston for their head coach position. That's all that's come out.
but it has not been confirmed he's the head coach, which basically means they're doing their due diligence.
Yeah, but just because obviously we were talking off camera about that particular bit, that's all that's come out. But anyway, carry on.
Like 32 seconds ago. Geez, Sam, you quick.
Well, I've got Ian Rappaport and Adam Schefter on my notifications for
Right,
any
okay.
tweet that they do. So
Okay.
Touche.
Well, I'm gonna say this, right? And I'm with Sam. I would not take this Saints job with a 10-foot barge pole. And not that I would take jobs with barge poles anyway, but I would definitely not take the Saints one with a 10-foot one because, like you say, you're put at this point minus $63 million in the cap in 2025. You have so much work to
that's
do.
minus 50 since the restructure of
Right.
Ramsey. So they've saved 13 mil essentially.
Okay, so you're now minus 50 million in the cap. Still minus 50 million. Still comfortably the worst team in the league as far as cap
Yeah.
goes. You have the 9th pick in the draft, and as we've said on numerous occasions this year, you are not in the position, you are not doing anything franchise changing in this draft with the 9th overall pick. We'll come back to this in 3 years' time. This draft class could secretly be really, really good because everyone undervalued it so much, but at this point in time, you've not got anything completely needle shifting. Football's not one of those sports where one player changes everything most of the time, but you're not needle shifting with number 9. You were, as far as PFF goes, you had the 23rd ranked offense in the nation and the 31st ranked defense in the league
Oh,
per PFF, right?
Granted, to be fair, that is due to some horrendously bad injuries that have happened.
Oh,
But
absolutely,
and
absolutely.
they traded Marshawn Lattimore as well.
Absolutely. You look at the DVOA, they were actually, out of all these jobs, they were the best in DVOA, but still really bad in DVOA on the year. Minus 10.6, 22 ranked in the league. And they have, as I've said before, out of all of these rosters, the oldest average age in the roster. You've got so much of an overhaul that needs doing. Alvin Kamara's great, but at this point, is he still a long-term option?
He's what, 29, 30?
He's not a long-term option for you going into the future. And this is why I think out of everyone in this coaching cycle, the only one that they'll really look to go for and the only one who will truly look at that Saints job and go, I want it, is Aaron Glenn. Because that's where he came from. He knows a lot of the
Yeah.
players there and he knows the organization. He's got an emotional attachment to the job, which would make him want it a little bit more. The rest of it is, will it's part of, like, it's part of a marriage. You've got, yes, some of the stuff that comes with it isn't perfect, but I love this person and I'm invested in it already, so I will stick with it and try and make it better. No one else has that investment.
This Saints job is, if you're going to take it, you've almost got to say to whoever to the ownership, you're going to have to give me 3 years to fix this. There's no way it can be fixed in a year. Absolutely, it's a near impossible decision because you
Yeah,
like I said, you're not in a position where you can really go with the ninth pick. You can't unless you trade up and maybe give some and hope that the teams above you don't particularly accept the fact that you're going to give them a less than what would normally be expected for a high pick. You're not going to get a quarterback in this draft.
no.
So you're sticking with Derek Carr and Spencer Rattler.
Yeah.
Is there really anything else in terms of significant players that you can bring in the ninth position? Not really. But then you're looking at next year and it's like, well, Alvin Kamara's probably looking towards the end of his career. You've got Chris Olave is probably going to need to be paid next year.
Yeah.
So you're starting to, it's just a multitude of problems that you would have to go in and basically you'd have to be granted 3 years to fix it. And I don't think any owner is going to say, okay, we'll definitely give you 3 years to take this job.
Yeah, well, actually, you've got to walk into that interview, and again, if you are Aaron Glenn, you'll say, "I'm willing to put up with a year of crap." I did it in Detroit, where we said, they walked into Detroit. I know what they said verbally, but we all know internally they just went, "Let's blow this shit up. Let's see, let's build everything from the start." There's almost nobody left from the previous regime, but bar a couple of players. Let's go from the beginning. You have to walk in and say, listen, to an extent, you're going to have to deal with the fact that let me go from the beginning. Let me take a lot of this from the beginning. And here's my 5 year vision after season one, after season two, after season three. You've got to look at Mickey Loomis, who's been in that job for now 12 years, and say, don't you get comfortable. You're part of the reason we're 50 million now over the cap.
Stop fucking with the cap.
Yeah, stop fucking with the cap. Believe in what I can do as a coach and let me cook type
Yeah.
thing. Let me cook.
It's a blow up situation that needs to happen.
The the only situation in the first 3 years in which you can fire me is if I make an egregious error and I punch a player, or I do something, or I do Urban Meyer at the Jag stuff. Like if I start doing that, then you fire me. But if our performances are poor and our results are terrible, part of the process. It's
Mm.
part of the process. And if we're so far over the cap, I would even say things like, I'm so far over the cap, right? And it's going to hurt to do it. But I am so far over the cap that we need to make some major adjustments. And if that means we need to ship out Alvin Kamara and get some draft picks in so we can have some players on rookie contracts to help bring that cap down, that's what we're going to have to do. And just trust the process. Because,
Mm.
So
um,
there's been sorry to cut in, Fletch, but there's more breaking news come through from Tom Pelissero. It's been reported that Aaron Glenn, the defensive coordinator for the Detroit Lions, has turned down an interview from the New England Patriots. So the Patriots he won't be interviewing for. So his scheduled lineup is confirmed. Thursday p.m. US time. Obviously, he's got a meeting with the
Yes.
Jets. Friday morning it'll be the Saints. Friday evening it will be the Raiders. Saturday morning it'll be the Jaguars, and then finally Saturday p.m. the Bears. Just something to keep an eye on.
Does him turning down the opportunity to interview for the Patriots lean into the fact that they've done very well and they've kind of gone, we're probably going to go with him?
No,
Potentially.
The Pats haven't turned Aaron Glenn down. Aaron
No,
Glenn
that's what I'm
has turned
saying.
the.
But why would Aaron Glenn turn it down if it wasn't for the fact that obviously Vrabel's been there and you know because these people they do talk amongst themselves and if he feels like
Yeah.
he's not going to get the job, why go for an interview that you don't feel like you're
But
going to get?
The only thing
maybe,
yeah,
maybe
go on.
Ben Johnson has said, "Listen, out of
Don't
all
go.
the jobs that I want to, do you know what? The Patriots is the one that I would want the most because I get that because I like Drake May, I like the piece. I think I can do something
Mm.
there." And Aaron Glenn goes, "As a mate, you go. I won't. I'm not even going to entertain that one. You go for it. I'm happy over here." Or he Robert Kraft offered to take him out for a massage, and he was like, "No, thank you."
Mm.
That's too much. Okay.
We go,
I think if you the I suppose because of the two we haven't talked about in terms of the Raiders and the Patriots in terms of their potential for their jobs and obviously mentioned about the 12 million and all of that. I don't. If I was to pick out the two, I would rather have the Patriots job
yeah.
because
At least you
you've
have a
got a red,
quarterback. At least you got a
you've got a
quarterback to
quarterback.
work with.
You've got a
But that's
quarterback.
it. That's all you fucking got.
Or
Actually, to be fair, you got a very good corner, Christian Gonzalez, a very good defensive tackle, Christian Barmore,
picks.
picks, the most cap space available,
Mhm.
a division which it's being ran down by the Bills currently. The Jets are no good. The Dolphins,
Average.
The Dolphins are average. They could plateau in the next two seasons.
Well, here's it. Right.
I like the Patriots as a if you're a quarterback, if you're sorry, if you're a head coach going into that and being able to say we've had the blow up now, we've got our franchise quarterback. It's now time to fix everything else.
Yeah.
I think there's and the fact you've got all that cap space, I think there's plenty to work with. You can pick up and obviously ship out a few pieces in terms on the offensive side in terms of the likes of where because you've got a lot of wide receivers, but a lot of just bang average to crap wide receivers. You could ship some of them out or waive them or whatever. Maybe bring in a big piece on the wide receiver side. I don't know, trying to think of someone who you could bring in, but like you could go into the market, pick up a few pieces,
Mm.
bring in a decent wide receiver, and you can start to build something and start to develop something there. And I think that there's enough there that you can work with where not only can you develop a decent team in maybe 2 or 3 years, but you can put a blueprint on a team
Yeah.
in how you want it to look and how you want it to fit a certain way. And that's what I quite like about that one. The Raiders, I think, is a lot harder because one, they don't have a quarterback, and there's even more problem. Like at least you've got a corner. Like Max Crosby at the end of the day. I mean, bearing in mind how old Max Crosby, he must be 30s, pushing
Yeah.
on
I know
close to
he's been in the
30.
league since 2019. So he's like late
So that would
20s.
be what 5 years. So maybe he's
Late
28
20s.
then. Um, but at some point, I mean, I know they've only just have they just recently paid him as well. Um,
The
he's
year ago.
27, so actually no, he's not too bad. So,
A year
um,
ago.
but there's again, you've you've got Max Crosby, and then you've got potentially Spillane, and
Yeah.
that's it on defense. The rest of it is utter trash. So realistically, you're going to again need to go and get a few pieces.
Mm.
So I think there's a lot more to do at the Raiders, and also having to deal with the fact that it's in Las Vegas. Still think that that's a major problem.
The You've got to accept going into the Raiders that every game you play is a road game. You just play 8 or 9 road games in a familiar stadium.
Mm.
Yeah, the stadium, but the crowd is not going to be in your favor. That's the big thing. Um,
I think Raider Nation is a lot more stronger than a lot of people do realize. I have seen games where I've seen games where they do get outrun by opposing fans. Chiefs is a prime example. There's one of them. Philadelphia will run them out of their own building. There are a
Realistically,
number of teams that will. But when you actually watch those games closely, there are a lot of Raiders fans in that stadium. They are as passionate and as diehard as any fan base going. They will travel with the team. And it's not like they've been pushed out for one end of the country to the other, and you have to redevelop the fan base again. It's literally 3, 4 hours from Oakland to Vegas. They
we
haven't.
we
It's
we
a bit
have
like
a
moving
worse
from London. It's a
situation.
bit like moving from London to Manchester.
It's a much worse situation for at SoFi than it is at the
You're still
Raiders.
building your fan base. You're still building your
Yeah.
fan base. You're getting there. I have noticed that home field advantage is slowly getting there, but it's taking you
Well,
forever and ever and ever.
But
Even
as
after you won a Super Bowl,
it's
the
it's
the
it's
problem is
LA though, isn't
the
it?
problem is with the LA market, they don't like mediocrity unless
Yeah.
you are up there challenging for a title or championship every single year. They want
Mm.
nothing to do with you. There is
Yeah.
plenty more things to do and for Angelinos to do and spend their hard-earned money than
And
watch a
this,
mediocre team that's going to
that's the
win six,
problem. You've
seven,
got the
eight games a
Lakers.
season.
You've got the
You
Lakers.
you
You've got
got
the
yeah.
LA Angels. Like there's plenty of other sports things going around LA that you can deal with, and just LA being LA, it's a lot of tourism and
a lot of people who live in LA are not from
celebrities.
LA.
No, it's a lot of celebrities as well, which
Yeah.
it's hard to get a fan base of celebrities. Although the
Yeah.
celebrities can bring in a fan base, they can also take a fan base away.
Exactly. But you're thinking someone's going to turn up one game, so 1 or 2 games a year because you've offered them a ticket to sit
Yeah.
in a decent seat or a suite. So it's mostly what you get. Or you like say you've got
Mm.
tourists. I always used to like one of the best away games would probably be the Raiders because you get a weekend in Vegas. Like, why would you not? Well, for opposing fans and for tourism and travel,
Mm.
what's one of the best away games you could have? A weekend in Vegas. Call your wife. Listen, October, third weekend in October, I'm heading to Vegas with the boys. We're going up on Friday. We're leaving on Monday, and we're gonna watch our team play while we're there. Why would you not want to do that? And
Welcome to the northern version of the Hangover. It's not
the
going to be pretty.
the Eagles travel well anyway. They're one of the better, and they have a good fan base. But for the Chiefs, it's not that far away. It's not
Mm.
that far away for a divisional game. It's a nice little travel over. So the other job that I would really hate, by the way, the Raiders could be a fun one, but the one thing you have to do, first job on your board has to be, I'm gonna get Max Crosby in the building and I need to talk to him. And I need to ask him what he wants and try and get him on board because he's on his fifth. He said that his podcast came back today. He's on his fifth coach in 5 years. He's
Mm.
already said this year, I want to be, when all the trade rumors were happening around him, he was like, I want to be a Raider. But he's clearly getting very frustrated with ownership and all the things that are going on. And you don't want your number one star player to be to be extremely frustrated because that's not a good place to be. The worst one
And
for
and
me is
realistically, as I say, realistically with him as well, he's probably at a level now where he knows he's in a position where he should be contending for rings, and he's
Yeah.
nowhere near it.
No, you're not on
And
that
he
right
and
team to
if the
do
way
so.
that the Raiders continue to go, the only way that he can obtain or potentially challenge for a ring is to go somewhere else. So it's a case of, does he go now where he can at least spend through 2, 3, 4 years trying it, or does the next head coach come in and say, look, we've got a plan, this is how we're going to sort it, and we could potentially take you to a ring?
but realistically, you're looking at somewhere like the Raiders and thinking if you're going to do it, you got similar to the Saints. You want to walk in, you want to say, listen, I need to blow this whole, or like, I don't need to blow anything up because it's so bad already. But like, you've got nothing here for me
We're going to
to
brush out the debris that's
yeah.
just been left behind
We're
for
just
the
gonna,
last
yeah,
couple
just a
of
bit of dust and a bit of. We're gonna do a little bit of a clean sweep, but they've got 112 million in free cap.
years.
That's a lot of money. Like we said, with The Patriots having 133, which I believe is the most in the NFL at the moment going into
It is, yeah.
2025. The Raiders are up there in like the top 3 or 4. That's a lot of free cap. So you can probably say within 2 years, I expect us to maybe start competing. In 3 years, I expect us to be actually competing. Now it's a bit different in the NFC North. You've got three teams that are, like Karl said, 10+ win teams. The AFC East and the AFC West are very different, but also equally hard. Because no, you're not going up against 3, 4 teams that are really good. Okay, maybe you are now, especially in the AFC West, but you're going up against the Chiefs and the Bills, just two incredible teams that good luck trying to bring them down. So you've got that. So you're automatically saying, I've not got me. If I build my team, I've not even got still not got an equal opportunity to reach the top of this division. I've got to take wildcard rounds. That's fine. At the end of the day, the Chiefs are the Chiefs, the Bills are the Bills. They are what they are. But for me, the Raiders, you got to say to Max Crosby is they're like, okay, but you're gonna be 30 by the time you compete. If
Mm.
you're willing to get on board, but you are
If
going to be 30 when we compete.
I think if the Raiders had any sense, they would potentially could trade him, but I think they'll have to trade him out of the conference. I don't
I'd trade
think.
him out the A. You could trade him out
Yeah,
the AFC and still be
I'd
okay.
move him to the NFC.
And do you know who I would
Personally.
trade him to?
Falcons.
Nope, the other pirate team,
Bucks.
the Buccaneers.
That
Him
could work.
alongside Shaq Barrett. Whew. That's quite.
Send him to LA, and we'll have a lot of fun with him.
Well,
Him and Jared
in
Verse.
well, you got to say
You bin all your picks, though. So
Exactly. So
Nevada.
we don't mind giving away a first round
Hey,
pick for him.
fuck them picks.
But you go
Tell you
for
what though,
go.
Jared Verse, Braden Fisk, and Max Crosby and Kobe Turner coming at you, you'd
That's
be fucking
nasty.
scared.
Not
That
even
is
Trent,
nasty.
not even Trent Williams will be able to
Yeah.
stop that.
You'd just be
It'll be like,
so
sod this,
scared.
I'm retiring. Bye. See you later. Good luck, Brock. Enjoy your 60 million.
That is that. And 2 months ago, I would have said bring him home, but now I'm like, well, defensive end is no longer with Hutch coming back next year. To Darius Smith, Alim McNeil, DJ, like that's the D line's okay. He wouldn't be my priority, but somewhere like the Falcons, I think could really do with him.
Falcons
Well,
would yeah,
they
I think
they
Falcons
could
could do.
really do with him. But
They've been desperate for an edge for a long time. To be
yeah,
They
fair,
traded a third round to the Patriots so they can take Matt Judon off our hands. He's had 4 sacks all season.
um,
he's been poor. That's
but
Juden.
like I say, for me, the worst one by far is the Jets, and they have. Wait, where did they rank? 20. Okay, it was 22nd. They have an average age at 22nd older, 22nd youngest, so that'd be the 10th youngest, 11th youngest team in the league, 11th oldest team in the league. Granted, when Aaron Rodgers leaves in the summer, in a couple of weeks, that'll go down by about 60 years, the average age, so you'll be okay there. Um,
And Devontae Adams.
Devontae Adams, oh, it'd be like a nursery. It'd be like going into a nursery after they go. But you've got at the end, no one trusts Woody Johnson. I wouldn't trust Woody Johnson to run a piss up in a brewery. It's not ownership I want to work with. You've got, granted, not the worst, but you've not got the greatest cap space. You've got about 27, 28 mil going into
28,
it.
yeah.
Your state income tax, because like I say, this is something I've thought of, is the highest out of the lot. You're going to be paying 10%, so you're actually getting 10.8 million, which is just chump change at this point. Not that I wouldn't kill someone for 10.8 million right now, but you know that Jets team, as much as the team's got potential, the team's got good talent, the team's got. I feel like you're just destined to walk into a horrendous situation that will never get better because your owners are useless.
That Jets team is been built around Aaron Rodgers and has made Garrett Wilson worse, has made Brees Hall worse, and basically the moment that Rodgers goes, for me, you have to clean house of anything that was related to him. So you've got to get rid of him, Devontae Adams, Tyler Conklin, because he was brought in for that where he had one of the ones he wanted, and Alan Lazard. For me, if you're going to do that job, you need to get rid of them because they were the Aaron Rodgers era, and I don't think you need that in your building. But then that means you need to go out and get another wide receiver to go alongside Garrett Wilson. You need to bring in another quarterback, which is, as shown, difficult to do. The only thing you're then doing for a year is leaning on the defense and then having to deal with Woody Johnson. So is that really worth going into when you know that you can't really bring anyone else in?
I think if I'm looking at this and I'm looking at the Jets, it goes, yeah, I'm not dealing with Aaron Rodgers. I would rather take a rookie quarterback and build around this talent because I think I saw it's only a rumor going around. If Aaron Rodgers comes back again next season, Garrett Wilson has said that he wants to be traded out of the Jets.
Yeah,
I think the connection between him and Rodgers is not there. But how many times have I said this on this pod before? If you drop one ball from Aaron Rodgers, you don't get to see that ball again for the rest of the rest of the game.
There's a reason why he doesn't throw to rookies, and he's only ever thrown to one first round pick ever for a touchdown.
Correct.
He doesn't like him, and that's fine, but you can't go into a season every single year if you're going to have Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams there is having a talented wide receiver like Garrett Wilson basically pissing it up the wall doing nothing. You can't do that with it. You've either got to trade him and hope you get some good picks, or you've got to get rid of Aaron Rodgers. I think that for me, personally, the Saints is the worst job. The Jets is the second worst, just purely because I think there is a lot more you can do with the Jets if you get rid of Aaron Rodgers, whereas the Saints, there's too many underlying multitude of problems with the Saints. So for me, the Jets is definitely down there as one of the worst ones. I think, like I say, the Patriots and the Raiders would just be pure fun because it's almost like doing Madden. To me, those two jobs, it's like you can just do what you want with it and have some fun with it. And then the serious one for me is the Jags one. And I know we haven't really talked about the Titans, but
don't say they're not head coach.
It's not head coach, Rob. So sorry, the Jaguars and the Bears are the two serious ones for me.
I want to say just for myself, I'd say my top one that I would choose would genuinely be the Jags. I like the Bears job. There's a little element of NFC North bias going on in here that I don't like him, so I don't want the job. But I think the Jags, and one of the benefits of the Jags, by the way, which none of us have mentioned, seeing as we're the ones being offered the job, you get to come home for 2 weeks every year.
Probably 3
on
weeks.
company time, we get to come home for 2 weeks every year. So you think you're halfway through the season and you want to go see your mum? Well, you're in London and you're gonna have a couple of days off, so you just hop on a train up to Darlington or up Northing, and
You can't hop on a freaking train. You'll just get bombarded by the fans. That's the case if they know
if you are the head coach of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Exactly. If you are the head coach of the Jacksonville Jaguars, I promise you, if Doug Peterson got on a train this season to go anywhere he wanted in the UK, he would not be bothered. One or two people.
He would be, but it'd be with abuse.
Oh yeah. Well, and that's not even by people who know him. He's just got one of those faces.
I'm not being funny though. If I was earning $12 million a year, I'm not getting a train. I'm getting a private jet to fly up there, park outside the house.
No, it's a 45-minute journey, you lazy bastard.
From London to Darlington? Right,
that's about 45 minutes.
Yeah, on the train.
You said you get a private jet.
Well, yeah, if I got a private jet, then yes, I would go up to there.
Well,
from London to.
Why not? Well, you can charter a quick flight. That wouldn't be a problem. But also, why not just a personal Uber? Why not?
No, yeah, but again, then you have to deal with being in a car and that. Private jet is just yours.
As long as it's got a lot of leg space, I don't care.
Either way, the point is not the method of travel you would take to get around the UK. It would be the fact that you get to come home for 2 weeks every year.
Why don't we just throw in the megabus while we're there? Just pay £2. You're earning 12 million with £2, please.
I like it. That's how the rich stay rich. You got to be knackered coming back for training couple of days later, like, but
It would be leaving at 1 o'clock in the morning as well, wouldn't it?
yeah, you'll be fine. Might just get there in time for offensive meetings.
Yeah,
But no, like for me, you've got that added benefit. There's potential in that Jags team. I feel like the only place to really start is get someone in OC who knows how to run an offense and get the best out of people. And I'm happy to leave a lot of that offense, give them a couple more pieces, and then the defense just focus on. Most of my draft picks are going to be defense related. Most of what I want to try and look at in free agency is going to be like impactful, is going to be defense related. That needs the most work. But I feel like if you can keep Shad Khan a little bit away, you can get really on. If you can get on the right page with your GM, it's an interesting place to be, and I think it's something you can build on. The Bears is probably second. The Raiders and Patriots are kind of in a bit of a limbo. For me, the Jets are the worst though, and because I'm also going to add in the New York market. If you are bad, you will be dragged,
yeah, true.
and I don't want because
Ooh,
one of the reasons I'm thinking of state income tax and a couple of things I was looking at. I don't want my family going through that sort of stuff.
There's a
interesting news. The Bears have completed an interview with former Seahawks head coach Pete Carroll.
He's in the list of
Interesting, man.
oh they've
he
completed it now. He's in the list of the
I've
rumors.
he's over. I think he's over the hill now. I think yeah, he outstayed his welcome with Seattle. I think it reached a certain point where it's like, yeah, we might need to we need a change. We need to move on.
Yeah. Um. But yeah, for me, Jets worst one out of all of them, and then it'd be the Saints second worst. Um. And plus, what the only other thing I could say with the Jags and the Bears that gets me is Illinois state income tax is 4.95%. Florida is zero. So
You're making
it's
the most money out of it.
look. I feel like I genuinely go in and I think what a head coach is actually thinking. What are the things I have to actually consider aside from football? We're taking a job, and but just those are some of the things. Um, so I feel like that's a decent discussion there. But let's get down to the real business. The playoffs kind of started last week. For some teams, playoffs started last week, but the playoffs officially. All right, what were you going to say something, Sam? Sorry.
No, I'm just sitting here making faces.
And with that in mind, it's wild card weekend. Lots and lots of football. Lots and lots of football. Starting tonight, we have the semi-final one, the college football playoffs. Sam, you get a double weekend of
Yeah, double week of
double
pain.
pain. Yeah, a pain just watching. Because you've got Ohio State, Texas tomorrow, and then Saturday, Sunday, and Monday is
And it's the
wildcard weekend.
longest wait ever as well for my game, being the last one.
Yeah,
Monday
at
night
1 a.m.
football. Monday night football.
Playoff schedule starting with at 9:30 p.m. on Saturday is the Chargers at the Texans. What we thinking?
Texans have come into the playoffs quite cold, I think. And I know they got a win over Tennessee, so it like picks them up a little bit, but it is still the Tennessee Titans at the end of the day. Um, I look at this offense and I just feel like there's something missing with this offense. And I know they've lost Tank Dell for the season, but they have still got Nico Collins. Um, and obviously they've lost Stephon Diggs as well, so that is harmful to them. Um, Go back to preseason, Fletch. I said something on the lines of, could the Charge be potentially be a playoff contender? And I was the only one that said that, and everyone disagreed with me, saying, "Nah, first year, I don't think he will." And I looked at it and thought, when Brandon Staley was in charge, their defense was on the floor, was literally on the floor. And I thought Jim Harbaugh comes in, he's going to tighten a few screws, he's going to get that defense working, and not just get the defense working, number one scoring defense in the NFL. And they go on and win what? And they go on to get 10 wins. So congratulations to the Chargers. This Chargers team is very exciting to watch. Lad McConkey really has picked up some form. Quinton Johnson is now no longer dropping the ball. Um, they've got Dobbins and they've got Gus Edwards at running back as well, so that helps him. And Justin Herbert he had a bit of a stut. He stuttered for like the first half of the season due to injuries and so on. But the back end of the season he has been on fire, and he has been
Yeah.
so good to watch. Um, I still think defensively they have dropped off slightly. They have been giving up a lot more points in the back end of the season than they did at the start, but they're still containing. Um, I feel like with this game, you know, everyone is putting all their money pretty much on the Chargers to beat the Texans here. But Houston are one of those teams where they can get a little bit of rub of the green. People actually said that last season that the Brown remember the wild card game? Browns were playing Houston. People said the Browns would actually go into Houston and beat Houston because of what they had.
Yeah.
And the Texans completely bludgeoned them. But that was with Kevin Stefanski as head coach. Jim Harbaugh, you're going to have to be tactically more sound to beat Jim Harbaugh. And I think Houston don't like playing from behind. They really don't. They prefer to be in front and rely on Joe Mixon to run the ball. If the Chargers get ahead, I feel like Stroud, he is in a bit of he's having a second year sophomore slump. He is. And I just think the Chargers defense, I think, might just knuckle down and get to him a few more times. Um, I kind of think the Chargers. I kind of think the Chargers will win this game.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to be a blowout. I think this is more. This is going to be closer than what a lot of people do realize. Um, Chargers are. I think the Chargers are favorites to beat to beat the Texans. I think. Even though Texans have home field advantage, but
Chargers have the 3 point swing.
Yeah.
minus the 3.5 favorite.
Minus three.
Yeah,
Sorry, the
three and a
minus
half.
three. So yeah.
Yeah, 3 point favorite. So yeah, I think the Chargers should take this. In all due honesty, I think I trust their offense to actually to do the damage more than I do Houston right now.
I think, well, if you add in the fact that officially you give the home team a natural 3 point advantage anyway for home field advantage, that's technically looking at the Chargers as a 6 point swing.
Mm.
Um, well, I'm not sure if it's still classed as a 3 point advantage anymore, as far as the way Vegas sees it, but um, yeah, that's not a pretty one to overcome. Um, yeah, I don't know. There's something about him this year. I don't think that I think it's a comfortable, not a, yeah, I think it's a comfortable win for the Chargers. Um, but let's face it, we say that about the Chargers, but let's also face it, it's not like I think Jim Harbaugh walked into one of the best situations that you could possibly have walked into. You had a generational QB. You had a genuinely good offense. You had you didn't have nothing to work with. It was, oh, what's his name? What's his face? He was he was just completely inept at getting the best out of any of that offensive talent. So yeah, I think the Chargers absolutely. I think the Chargers run away with it. I think the Chargers absolutely run away with it. And probably go
You're
in
about
as
Brandon Staley, aren't you? Brandon
that's
Staley
it,
was
Brandon Staley.
Absolute hack.
Because but the thing is though, I had close to it on it. I had Juice Staley, but that was the Lions' assistant head coach and running backs coach 2 years ago, and he's a very well built black gentleman. That's not what Brandon Staley was. So I'm just like, but I can't get the name Juice Staley out of my head, but I know it's not Juice Staley. Um,
Staley's now the assistant head coach at the Niners, weirdly.
yeah, yeah. Um, clearly felt like he had some sort. He knew somewhat what he was doing, just didn't have the. Yeah, I don't think it'd be close. Particularly, I don't know if the Chargers will blow away the Texans in terms. So I don't think, when I say it's not going to be close, I don't mean like the Chargers will run away by like 13, 14, 15 points
No.
or so. I think it's just going to be more, it'll be a game where the Chargers are very much in the driving seat and dictating that game. Maybe a bit of a close one as far as the scoreline goes, but it probably won't be close in the way that just the game's played.
I can't see it being high scoring either.
No.
Like to the in terms of the over under for this game, it's at 42.5. So I would probably take the under on that.
Yeah, definitely.
And so what we're saying is tomorrow night, Texas are going to absolutely clobber the living crap out of Ohio State. And then Ohio State's chosen child is going to crash out of the playoffs embarrassingly. And then it's just going to be a whole embarrassing weekend for Ohio State. I agree. And let's move on. The Steelers at the Ravens at 1 a.m. on Saturday night / Sunday morning. AFC North rematch. These two teams always produce an absolute blockbuster at the Ravens. What are we thinking about this one? I
No,
can't see anything past Ravens.
No,
No Zay Flowers for Baltimore, which is a big miss, huge miss for them. Um,
Pickens is back as well for the Steelers, isn't he?
like that's going to make a blind bit of difference.
Well,
Um,
I think it does. He's the only decent offensive player that they seem to have at the moment, and
he
everything
got
runs
targeted.
through
He got targeted 6 times in Week 18 against the Bengals and only caught one pass. Drop the rest, by the way. So do that what you will. The Steelers have come in ice cold. They really have. They've been awful since they got to 10 wins. They've been putrid. They can't score on offense. Russell Wilson has regressed. You know, as I said, if TJ Watt was not on the field, the Steelers would not be in the playoffs and have an under 500 record. They really would because they rely on him so much. They rely on this defense so much. When they played the Ravens a few weeks ago, I did notice the Ravens did change the stance the way they played the Steelers, and they bludgeoned them. They absolutely bludgeoned them. Um, with Baltimore, I think there's a lot of pressure on Baltimore, a lot of pressure on them because now we still don't know who's the MVP. Is it Lamar Jackson? Is it Josh Allen? We don't know yet. But what I'm wondering is if Lamar Jackson is the MVP, then he has to then go on and make the Super Bowl. He has to now because it is reaching a point where there's only so much an organization to take of just nearly getting there, nearly getting there, nearly getting there. And at some point, there's going to be a fall guy. And I'm going to put this now, and this is why. Remember, I said earlier on in the pod, Fletch. I said about there was another coaching candidate which no one is talking about because it's not really that scenario hasn't been figured out yet. This is the
Sorry,
game
pal.
where I think we could see that. If John Harbaugh doesn't get this correctly, there's going to be some questions on him as a head coach. A fantastic regular season coach, and although he has won a Super Bowl, it's the same with Mike Tomlin, has won a Super Bowl, but what else but you've got a high-end talent in Lamar Jackson, and you still can't make the big time. When
Well,
will you get there? And it'll be
Jackson is 2-4 in the playoffs as well, which doesn't
exactly,
help.
and it doesn't help either. And then you flip it to the Steelers. They haven't won a playoff game since they got battered in the AFC Championship by my Patriots in 2016. When they played in the divisional round in 2017, they let Blake Bortles put 45 points on them.
Portals!
Bortles! So,
For those of you who are fans of the good place.
so from 2017 up to now, they have not won a playoff game. They haven't won a playoff game. There could be a situation if the Steelers keep it close with the Ravens win by say a field goal or touchdown. It wouldn't be the be all and end all. I think they'll keep hold of Tomlin. But if the Ravens completely blow them out of the water, is that the beginning of the end for Mike Tomlin? That's the other head coaching candidate I can see being moved on. And I would guarantee you probably within about 48, 72 hours, someone will pick up Mike Tomlin.
Yeah, they would. I mean,
He,
he's a
he
very good
he's
coach.
got that same he's got the same sort of pedigree and same sort of aura as Karl Shanahan. If the 49ers fired Karl Shanahan now, guarantee you 24 hours later, he'll get a head coaching job somewhere else
Mm.
immediately because he's that good. Tomlin is a very good head coach.
I think though in that sort of situation, not to kind of jump on that one, but
Well,
you're looking at if someone like Mike Tomlin gets fired, I think you look at him as someone who goes, I'm going to go take a year off. I'm going to go take a couple of
Yeah.
years off. I don't think he would not be in another job straight away because he just wouldn't want to be around it for a year. It's going to leave too sour a taste in his mouth. Um,
At the moment, the Ravens are 9.5 favorites,
and
and I I just think the Ravens, even without Zay Flowers, have too much on offense
too much.
to just not win this game. But it's playoffs; anything can happen. So the Steelers could decide to all of a sudden be more like the Steelers from the early part of the season and play well. But
if they
I
do that,
just
it's a
don't
very
see.
if they do that, I think it's going to be a very low scoring game.
Yeah, it would be.
So I've got two pieces of advice on the betting here. Pittsburgh and Baltimore take the under, which is 43 and a half points. And since they don't have Zay Flowers, put Isaiah likely to score a touchdown anytime.
Yeah, he probably would. I
Because
think
I
it.
think because I think
Or,
Lamar Jackson's going to feed the tight ends a lot in this game. He's going to feed it to Mark Andrews. He's going to feed it to Isaiah likely.
he does
So
quite like Rashad Bateman though. Like but he's
Bateman's
not.
improved this season.
Yeah,
Since he come back from injury, Bateman has improved, which
Bateman
I'm actually quite happy about.
Bateman has improved because I think Zay Flowers has been there, but because he's not the number one guy.
No,
So I think that
you
helps
know a
him.
receiver. You know he's a prolific number one, or he's going to be a two or three. It depends on their production.
Mm.
So yeah, I totally agree.
But yeah,
But
for me, Ravens, I think are the. I just can't see the Steelers winning this game.
you know what this reminds me of the Steelers? Reminds me of 2020. It reminds me of their 2020 season where
When they ran away with it, went ahead of
they ran
everyone
away with it.
else.
They went 11 and 0. Then they lost a number amount of games. They beat the Colts in second to last game to actually win the division, and then they lost to the Browns the final game of the season. And in the wild card game, okay, it was COVID. There was no one in the state. There was no one in the stadium, so that's even a flipping weird time for all of us. Um, the Browns
Like,
completely screwed up. The Browns completely screwed the Steelers.
yeah, but another thing I want to add into this as well is overall historically the Steelers have had the Ravens number, even particularly throughout a lot of John Harbaugh's tenure. The Steelers just have the Ravens number. They've won what? Hang on, let's have a look at this. Out the last 5 times they've played, the Steelers have won four. Um, the last six Steelers have or four. The last 10 Steelers have won eight. On average, at the moment, the Steelers are pretty much over the last 10 times they've played. The Steelers have won eight, Ravens two, and it's Steelers win four, Ravens win one. Steelers win four, Ravens win one. No,
I
Ravens have
think
just
this is
won
where
one.
that record changes. I I I just think the Ravens are too strong. And like,
They're gonna use Derrick Henry a lot, and they're going to use Lamar Jackson a lot.
and Justice Hill is back in training, which is another good piece to have.
Another running
Yeah.
back. Yeah.
The benefit, I think, being as well though, like the two games they played this season, the Steelers just beat the Ravens in Pittsburgh, then the Ravens dismantled the Steelers in
This is where I think the
Baltimore,
Ravens
and it's
now.
in Baltimore.
This is where I think the Ravens have got the upper hand because if they hadn't played the Steelers a few weeks ago, I think they might have gone into this game with maybe some doubt. But
Yeah.
because it's only been recent, I know it's 3 weeks ago. 3 weeks ago is not recent, but you get what I mean. It was only like 3 games ago. It's still fresh in your memory of how
Mm.
you managed to beat them. So what is going to happen with the Steelers is Tomlin needs to set up a game plan. You're going to need TJ Watt to rush Lamar Jackson, but you don't want to go so mental at him because if you just blitz him, he's just going to take off.
Or he'll pop it off to Henry and he'll
Or he'll
just
pop it
run.
off to Henry. You've got to contain the guy. But
Mm.
although saying that, Lamar Jackson's passing accuracy this season has actually been a lot better.
Yeah.
Mm.
That's the one criteria, the one criticism we've always had with Lamar Jackson. His passing has been he makes some brilliant passes and then he'll overthrow his receiver by 10 yards. It was
Mm.
never consistent. Never consistent. But this season he has been consistent. And I think that might be the tipping point that's needed for the Ravens to go that one step further,
Yeah.
potentially.
So, in fact, by the way, before we move on, Chargers or Texans? Who's winning?
Guys.
Bolt up.
Right. So I think we're all with the LAC here.
I would love to see the potential of having two SoFi Stadium
Conference games. I knew he was going to say that.
championships because that'd be hilarious.
Right. Someone posed this, and I think something to get onto in a bit. Like, someone posed this: what if the Chargers and the Rams both made it in as the home team? And I think the oh no, it can happen.
It can.
It can,
It
but it's
can this year.
very, very unlikely.
Don't matter. But as someone said, what if that happens? What happens then? Like, what do you do?
Yeah, because normally they
And
play on the Sunday, don't they? They have one game at the midday and then one game at 6:30.
but someone turned around and said, "How bad is this that the Giants and Jets have shared a stadium for nearly 40 years and no one started to ask this question? Nobody."
Yeah,
And I just think, what an
I,
indictment of how terrible both of those franchises are. That in 40 years, including when Giants were winning Super Bowls,
the thing is though,
no one thought to ask, what if both of them are that good?
the thing is though to make a conference. The thing is though to make the conference game for the Chargers, right? They need either the Steelers to, you know, they either need the Steelers to go all the way through to the AFC Championship, or they need the Broncos
Broncos.
to go to the AFC Championship.
Mm.
And we know, I think the Steelers are out, and probably Denver. We'll get into that game in a minute, but you know what I mean. I think it's very unlikely. What I will say is though, if the Chargers do make the Super Bowl and the Rams make the Super Bowl, surely the NFL's got to look at it and go, "Fuck it, we're not putting it at the Caesar Superdome. We're putting it at SoFi." Do it like the Milan Derby, AC and Inter. Do the Milan Derby. Do the SoFi Derby. That would be brilliant.
the LA Derby.
That would be worth it. That would be worth it. It really would. But it's highly unlikely. But
Yeah. So I feel like just based on everything that we're all saying Ravens win this one
Yeah,
as well.
Yeah, Baltimore take this.
Finally, the Broncos at the Bills. Now, this for me is my favorite game of the weekend. Just for me, it's my favorite game. This has the potential to be really, really, really good, and I'm not overly worried about rookie quarterbacks in the thing. I just think the Bills and Josh Allen are just that bit too much. Sean Payton will have them ready to go, but I just think the Bills are just a little bit too good and a little bit too much. What about yourselves?
So
yeah.
go on. No, go on, Sam. I'll let
Like I
you
said,
have the,
I just think
I'll let you have the floor with this one.
I just think the Bills are just too, like you say, they're too strong. I think, you know, they've gone through the season, and although a lot of doubts came into it with how they were going to cope with the wide receiver issues and all of that, and I just think the fact that they've gone through and Josh Allen has basically not only just carried this team, but also there's other players in this team that have also stepped up when they needed to. I just think that they just have too much going, like, to cope with it, because, you know, although they have, you know, the Broncos have Pat Surtain and, you know, the brilliance that Bo Nix has brought along with Cortland Sutton and Valet and the players that he's had around him. I just think that pound for pound, when you're looking at these teams, the Bills just are better, and they turn up when, although they've not been great in playoffs, they turn up. This sort of a game, it just feels like it's, especially with the Bills being at home. Again, it's that advantage that's a lot different. I mean, I don't know what Denver's like for weather, but I highly doubt it's as bad as it is
Well,
in,
they
in,
play they play in altitude, and it does snow, and it is quite cold in Denver.
so maybe they're used to it, but probably
Then
not to the
maybe they're
levels the
used to it,
Bills
but
go to.
I'm more comfortable with the Broncos being a road team because their defense is very, very, very good. And there is a saying, defenses travel come
Mm,
postseason time. Do you want an insane stat? An
Always,
insane one.
always.
Since 2017, Broncos head coach Sean Payton's record against bold head coaches is 30 and 12. He's playing a bold head coach in Sean McDermott. It's
Well, I hope you
the,
don't play
it's
Pep
Sean McDermott
Guardiola
ball.
anytime soon.
it's Sean McDermott. What? Are you
Well,
serious, man? Look at
in,
that.
in all fairness, I only usually see him with a hat on, so I
I could literally slap his head and it will echo around my room.
didn't realize it. Well, yeah, I mean, he is when you. But I only ever see him with a hat on, so I've never thought about what his hair is like.
So that is my insane stat of the day. And if you don't like it, shove it. Anyway,
Don't ever tell us that we don't bring people the important information that they need to know. Um, no, I think that record is going to go to 30 and 13. And you'll be I'll be remiss to think, well, and I will apologize that I'm not going to take that too far on board that record
well, the
and
record or
use
the
it
boldness.
that both of them really. Um, I'm going to still stick with the Bills regardless of his 30 and 12 record against bald head coaches. I
I think
apologize.
this is going to be closer than what a lot of people grab it for. What is the spread?
8.5.
Eight and a
Nutella.
half? Nah,
The o- the over the
I,
over is 47.5.
I don't think it's going to be. I don't think they'll cover. I think this is going to be a lot closer. I think it's going to be closer to what Bills fans want.
I don't see it being high scoring either. I mean, generally playoffs don't tend to be too high scoring, but I don't see. Although the Bills have been very potent on offense with scoring 30 plus in a lot of games, most games.
They're playing the Bills defense. I would probably say 24-17 Buffalo. I'll probably say. I think they'll get. I think they'll win with a touchdown. So it is in the spread, but. There's going to be a few times in this game where Josh Allen, especially that first half, I think Denver are going to have Allen on lockdown. And I think
Mm.
McDermott is going to have an absolute masterclass in the second half to get this overdone with. It's going to be scrappy, but I think Buffalo will just about edge it.
Okay. So, if that's the case, then the playoffs, based on our predictions, will be well, so the divisional round will be the Chargers at the Chiefs and the Ravens at the Bills.
It's
That
fiery.
that
That is
pencil that
tasty.
in,
That is
pencil
tasty.
pencil that in for the best game possibly of the season.
Mm.
Chargers always fall short against the Chiefs, though. I wonder
That's
what.
not the game I meant.
Yeah, I was going to say
Oh,
the Ravens Bills will be an absolute firecracker that game.
oh, that will be quality. That will
And
be quality.
I'm going to put this in. This is my like my mystic prediction. Bet the over on that one.
Yeah,
Oh,
massively.
100%.
Over.
100%.
But
I
then
think
All the
the
over.
over on that will probably end up being like 60.5 or something ridiculous.
Still take
But
it.
I'd still go over. Yeah, I could see this being a bit like a 37-33 game or something stupid.
It'll. I think it'll be one of those where in 3 years' time, someone comes up to you and says, "There's a few games like this already," but a mate of yours comes up and says, "Like I'm getting into the NFL. Recommend me a game to go and watch. Go back and watch from history. This will be on the that'll be on the list that you put forward of 4 or 5 games that includes the Rams, Chiefs,
Yeah,
100 a point a game. Like, that
105
game will be
points
up
in that
there.
one. Yeah,
That'll be up there, not necessarily on points, but just on quality of offense and scoring and all that sort of stuff. It'll be up there. That absolutely. Um, Next up, I'll say that'll be at 6 p.m. on Sunday.
yeah,
Then at 9:30, the Packers at the Eagles. A repeat of week one in Brazil, just on probably a slightly nicer field. Um,
slightly less hostile stadium.
well,
Are you sure about
it's
that? Are you sure about
Philadelphia.
that? It's
We're in
it's Lincoln
Philadelphia,
It's
eh?
Lincoln Financial
Yeah,
Lincoln
but you're not
Financial
gonna.
Field.
Yeah, but you're not gonna get stabbed for wearing green.
No, but like
Well, I mean,
thirty thousand people have to
this
call you an asshole.
it's Eagles fans. So what do you? I wouldn't put.
Yeah,
I'm not so put past
listen,
it for
they
stabbing, but
they might call.
they'll throw their beer at you, throw insults at you, and make rude gestures.
I was
But that's
gonna say
probably
that
about it.
they'll
I'd
call
rather
you an
have that
asshole.
than stabbed.
They'll, they'll call you an asshole a lot. This has for me the potential. I get like there are a few games here that are genuinely good. This has the potential to be a really really good game.
Mhm.
I genuinely take out all biases. I think the Eagles are a much better team than the Packers overall. Defensively, they've got it together. Offensively, they're an absolute storm. The I can't see past the Eagles at all, and I think it'll be a more than one score game.
I think the
I
thing that concerns me with this game, in terms from the Packers' perspective, is they go into this game off the back of losing to the Bears, and that I still think that's going to hurt.
That's
And they
mostly
don't.
the backups.
Do we know if is Jordan Love
he,
okay?
he's good to go. He'll be good
He's
to
good to
go.
go. Okay,
There's a
so
report
obviously,
just come out by Ian Rappaport that apparently Jalen Hurts was in full participation
yeah,
today.
he's
So
back in
he's back to go.
concussion.
Also, as well, Saquon Barkley, he's had a week's rest.
Yeah,
I think he was
he's
also
going to be.
carrying I think he was also carrying a niggle in the last game that he played, even though he got 2,000 yards on the season.
I just think the Eagles. The only way, for me, the only way the Eagles lose this game
It's
is if
Sirianni.
Sirianni
Yeah,
ruins it for them. That's the only
yeah.
way I can see them because all he has to do, play this game the way his offense, he knows the offense works. Put it in Saquon Barkley's hands to just completely decimate and drive this team down. And then when you know you've got the opportunities, pick out the best, one of the best wide receiving groups that you've got out there in AJ Brown, Devontae Smith, and Dallas Goedert. Just don't do stupid things. That's all you've got to do.
Mhm. That's the thing. It's Sirianni. Can he get out of his own way?
Yeah,
That's going to be the issue. Um, this Packers team, look, defensively, I still think they're defensively, I still think they're very, very good. Josh Jacobs had a fantastic season for running back. No Christian Watson, no receiver, so
What
it's going to be down to Devontae Wicks and
what was his
Romeo
injury in
Dubs.
the end?
Sorry.
What was his injury that because obviously he came off, it was looked serious. Do we know what his actual injury
Well, I
was?
don't know, but he can put on IR. He's done for this. He's done. He ain't making the postseason. Um, and they're gonna have to rely on Kraft as well at tight end a lot in this game. But this is all gonna come down to Jordan Love. You know, well done on your regular season. He's done okay. He hasn't been worldly, but now it's the postseason. Can you now do it in the postseason? This is where this is where the rubber meets the road now with regarding of Jordan Love. And I just kind of think this Eagles defense, I think they've got a plan for Jordan Love, and I don't think it's going to be a very pretty one. What I'm going to say is, though, I think Green Bay will put points on Philadelphia.
Yeah, they will. That
And
secondary isn't the
yeah,
strongest.
Aaron
and it's
Jones will be
not
good as well.
Aaron, who? Aaron Jones?
Yeah.
He plays for the
No,
Vikings, you
Josh
dimwit.
Jacobs.
Josh
Even.
Jacobs, yeah.
Yes, just
You're in
me.
the NFC North, man. Come on, you should know this shit. Anyway.
I don't know. They're all a big pile of crap to me. It's all the same. It's all the same. But no, I think
It's that
you
scene in Jurassic Park, isn't it?
you've got to try
That's a
and
big pile
stop
of
Josh
shit.
Jacobs. Yeah, that is a but that stopping their run game is going to be a lot easier said than done. I know that again we were to have one of the best run stopping defenses in the league at the time, and he fucking put a hat trick on us. Oh, one of the
I
better
think
ones.
the problem I think that's going to come from it, and this is where I think, although obviously we've said the Packers defense is solid, miss obviously Jair Alexander now on IR. I think he's going to be such a huge miss when having to now put up someone against both AJ Brown and Devontae Smith. Like obviously you've got Xavier McKinney there, so it's not like it's they don't have other players. But I think people underestimate how good Jared Alexander can be in these situations, and I think not to have him there is a big miss.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I'm still going to take the over on the points, though. I think this is going to be a
Yeah,
very strangely high scoring game. I think it might reach a point now where Philadelphia might just run the ball, run the table on them
Well,
in late in the second half. But
I've just got a feeling that the thing you can never count the Packers out for in the playoffs is that they'll be up for it.
mm,
absolutely,
They're not going to shy away from the occasion. This is not like a "whoa, we're in the playoffs" moment. They'll be up for it and they'll be ready to play. It's between the two of, and the Eagles will be prepared for it either way. Can the Packers keep up with the Eagles? I know the Eagles can play that long, but can the
mm.
Packers keep up with that Eagle? I don't think that they can because I've seen them do it a few times this season where they started to run out. Like they haven't been able to go toe to toe with the team the whole way, and the Eagles are a bit too good. You say about Nick Sirianni getting in his own way, yes, and say about you got last season where they did what the Steelers did in 2020, where they went so long unbeaten, and then just capitulated. And I've told you why that happened, and I stand by why that happened, and it's because that piece of crap, Matt Patricia, went and ran their defense, ran it into the ground, and it was terrible. They've not got him in the building anymore. Don't think that's going to be too much of an issue. So yeah, I think the Eagles have everything it takes to take this game for 60 minutes, and the Packers just don't. I don't think Jordan Love's
The
got it
thing is,
in him to go for 60
if
minutes.
if the Eagles get in front, they win this game comfortably. I think this is the difference. Is I don't. Although if the Packers do get in front, they could, because to me that both these teams, their star, although they've got star players in other positions, it's their running backs that are the real deal.
Yeah.
And I think if whichever team can get if the Eagles get in front, I don't think there's any stopping them. I think you've
No.
just literally got to try and just somehow get in front of them. If the Packers can get in front, then it could be a slightly different thing. But I
Yeah.
just think that if you're looking at which team is if you're gonna force a team to throw the ball, which team are you more likely to be happy being that team that you throw the ball to? And for me, that would be
Yeah.
the Eagles.
Um. So again, I'm gonna say that just by the sounds of it, we're generally riding with the Eagles, but it could go. It's not necessarily 100% with the Eagles, but generally riding with the Eagles here.
Yeah, I also think that
yeah.
home field advantage in this particular game makes a massive difference
Yeah.
because if it was the other way around, again, I think Lambeau Field is a special place that teams don't like going and playing there.
Unless you won there like 3 times on the bounce, and then
Well,
love going there.
divisional games we don't count.
I do. The Commanders at Buccaneers at 1 a.m. This is a game that for me can go either way, but my thought on this, and I said this about the Broncos game with Bo Nix, I'm not necessarily discounting rookie QBs as as a factor in it. The Commanders going to be fun. I just think the Buccaneers are better in Baker Mayfield over a rookie quarterback in this situation.
I will go first for this one. This is my favorite game out of the entire slate of wildcard weekend. This was the game I had pinpointed. I mean, originally I thought it would be Washington taking on no, so I thought it'd be Washington taking on the Rams. And then the Rams decided to shit the bed against Seattle, lose. The Bucks take the third seed. I'm like, oh, okay. Now we're in for a showcase. This has got 60 plus points written all over it. Neither team really is very good defensively. Neither team can really stop the run. Um, Jaden Daniels has been absolutely phenomenal this season. I was the only one, by the way, to say that the Washington Commanders were a playoff contender. I was the only one that said that in preseason. So bookmark that. So I know because I had faith. I think Jalen because they got a callback of Jaden Daniels, who's a better passer of the ball, can use his legs, and he's very quick at getting the ball out. He hasn't had a lot to work with. He's had Terry McLaurin, Jamison Crowder, and Zach Ertz to work with. That's really all he's got. And he's made it so, so good. But that's also down to the coaching as well. That's down to Dan Quinn and the job he's done. That's down to Cliff Kingsbury at OC of what he has done. This has been brilliant from Washington. With the Buccaneers, I feel like as long as they didn't trip over themselves, they win the NFC South. They almost did. They almost did. And that's where I think there's a little bit of jeopardy with the Bucks going into this game. But Baker Mayfield has already won 2 playoff games in his entire career. So he's been to the dance. This is the third time now he's been to the dance. He knows now what it takes. Whereas Jaden Daniels is going to be new to all of this and doesn't know what it's going to take. The only thing I will say is this. Jaden Daniels is the second ranked quarterback in touchdowns, in game-winning situations all season. He's ranked second, which basically means when the going gets tough and it comes clutch time when we need points, he'll get you the points. This is why I say this could be a 60. This is a 60-point game, in me personally.
What are you like? Who are you looking at? Are you going to give it home field advantage on this? What are you going to give it experience, or are you going to give it fresh?
I think Washington are just looking. I think Washington they're lacking just a little bit less because the Buccaneers have been there. They've been there and done it before. I am actually going to take Tampa to win this game, but it's going to be a nail biter. It's going to be an absolute nail biter. But listen, these two teams, I have a soft spot for both of these two teams. So whoever wins, yeah, well done. Well done. That's all I'll say. I've got nothing against these two teams. Really, really don't.
Um, what about you, Sam?
Yeah, I see experience overcoming the rookie. And it's not to say that the rookie will do badly. I just think that the Bucks have the experience in the playoffs. I think Baker Mayfield has the experience in the playoffs. And I just think that they'll find a way to win. And like I said, I think once the Buccaneers get ahead, they've got very good running backs to hold that game down in Bucky Irving and Rashad White.
They do.
So I just think that there's, I do think that the Bucks defense is slightly better.
They got Shaq Barrett back.
Yeah,
well,
so I just think
which is a big upgrade
they've
for
got
them.
enough. So I'm going Bucks, but it's going to be a very tight game. The spread is 3 in favor of the Bucks. They're 3-point favorites. The Bucks going into it, and the spread is over 50. Well, the over under is 50. So
yeah, take the over.
me personally, I would have the Bucks in over 50. But I think it will be a 3-point game.
Yeah,
personally.
And with you both now, with that in mind, it means this game has already decided its fate on who it will be playing in the divisional round. The winner of this round will go on to face the number 1 seed, the well-rested powerhouse mega Detroit Lions at Ford Field, the Minnesota Vikings, and the LA Rams, hopefully in LA. Hopefully, because if it's in LA, it means that, well, it means good things for what's going on there right now more than anything. If it's not in LA, it means very bad things. It's getting worse. Come on, Sam, talk to us. Talk to us, Sam.
I I think this will honestly depend on which Sam Darnold turns up. Because if Sam Darnold turns up, like we know he can turn up this season, we could be in for a very long game. Because our defense, although we aren't the worst, I've constantly banged on about the fact we give up too much yardage in games. That could be the problem in this game, is if we allow Sam Darnold to do what he wants, we won't do well in this game. But if we can stop him or make him uncomfortable, and we know that our D line can do that, then we could have a very interesting game, because I think we have enough in terms of experience and everything else to put up a good fight against this Vikings team.
Yeah, I agree with Sam. I think Sam Darnold in that last game against Detroit, he did get found out quite badly. Um, what I will say is with Minnesota, I still think defensively they can get after. Stafford, he's very, very good at getting that ball out very, very quickly. And when he goes up against the blitz, he is even better at getting that ball out very quickly. I feel like, but Cooper Cup, I don't know if Cooper Cup is available for this game or not. 'Cause of
He
what
is
I heard.
available.
He is
He is
available.
available.
Okay, so you got Puka Nacua, Cooper Cup to deal with as well. I don't think the Rams are going to run the ball well against his Vikings defense. I think Kyron Williams is going to run into some issues. Um, and I also think Aaron Jones ain't going to run the ball very well. This is all going to come down to the quarterbacks. Who do you trust at quarterback? And I would say on paper at least, I would trust Matthew Stafford more because he's been there. Like, he's already won a Super Bowl. He's been there, done it, got the T-shirt. Okay. But the Vikings defense do get takeaways, and Stafford does have a habit of throwing a bit of a rainbow ball to the opposing defense. I'm going to edge this one to Minnesota. Not quite for two reasons. One, I just think, again, as I said, defenses travel on the road, but unlike the Denver game going into Buffalo, this Vikings defense could actually do some damage along the way. And secondly, just for shits and giggles, I want part three against Detroit.
Okay, so I hate this game, and then it's going to come down to the Rams Vikings. So it's going to come down to someone playing us. This is the game where I think for the Rams, you have just been given the blueprint on how to shut down Sam Darnold.
Mm.
Genuinely, I think and I think if anyone's gonna realize that and scheme properly for it, it's Sean McVay. Sam Darnold was terrible last week. With everything on the line, Sam Darnold was terrible. And there's been moments this year where I feel like Sam Darnold's been bailed out and hasn't played that well and still won. It is what it is. It happens. Every QB has those games in a year. If crying out loud, there was a game this year where Jared got through 5 interceptions and we still won the game. QBs have those games. This happens. They don't mean they're not going to have good games going forward, but you've just been given the blueprint on how to take Sam Darnold out of a game. He's not clutch. You put him under pressure, especially in clutch moments. The man fades. I think you also have you played the Vikings this year, didn't you?
Well,
You played them.
No, we didn't play any of the NFC North. We played the Bears. We played the Bears. We didn't play the Vikings.
I meant Sam,
Oh,
and because that was the game
he's on mute and his screen's
that
gone,
was
so
the game
hopefully he's
that
back.
was the game with the face mask, and Vikings fans were really upset about it with the face mask in the last second of the game. Um, so you've already beat the Vikings this year, granted an extremely close game with a contentious decision that was they were never going to win the game anyway. The Vikings. So wait, the three losses that the Vikings, sorry, I've got to the three losses the Vikings have had all season are to the Rams and the Lions, and this could be the next two games that they have. Rams, Lions. You've been given, like you already know. You've already
Sorry,
beat.
I'm on milk duty. I'm listening, and I
You,
can hear.
That's okay.
you good.
We
You
it
good.
was we did beat them 30-20.
Yeah. Let's see. That was the game where. Let's see. That was the famous Jared versus face mask game.
Yeah,
So I thought you've already beat him for one, and then two. You've just been given another thing on. This is how you stop Sam Darnold. They will have it. For that reason, I give it purely to LA. Um, I give it to the coach who knows how to coach in the playoffs. I give it to the coach who knows exactly what they're doing, and I give it to the team who, at the end of the day, this is now winning out, win and go. And out of those two, you asked me last year when the Lions played the Rams. My first thought was I think the Rams could win because Sean McVay knows how to play in those win and go home games. I think again I give it to someone like Sean McVay. Um, it's horrible because but either way, I have to pick a game that I don't want to play next week. I don't want that game next week for various reasons. But
and
Well, it's either that,
that's what
it's
matters,
either
right?
that, or the Packers or Washington pull off the upset.
well,
Yeah,
Then you don't have to face one of those
I
two
want
which I would
until
rather.
the
I'd
NFC
rather.
Championship at least.
But at least we'll know going into that game whether this will be the game of who you're playing,
oh yeah,
because all of those other games will have been played by then.
oh yeah. I mean, if I was to ask for any of those teams to play against, I'd want it to be the Commanders. Just I think for obvious, I think they get if they get one round through the playoffs, I think they're too happy with where they're at. Um, and I would fancy us against a Jaden Daniels and that team. But
I think
either
one of the
way,
things for me that you've got to also think about is for me as a Rams fan, and I think you probably say a lot of people probably see us as being. I mean, I think that although it will be a close game, they see us as being the underdogs in this game based upon how well
yeah,
the Vikings have played this year and everything. But for me, we probably think we're going to be the team that's probably going to lose this game, and we probably expect going into the playoffs that we were going to be one and done. So I think for me, there's less pressure on us than there is the Vikings to
yeah,
win this game.
yeah,
And I think that plays a massive part, especially for a team that, you know, if we can get pressure at the more we start doing well, and the more pressure we put on Sam Darnold, the worse it gets. And I just think, that's where the game will be won and lost for me. And that's why, I mean, I very much agree. I think we could, I think if you're going to say a team to technically cause the upset, I think we're the team to do it.
yeah.
Because at the end of the day, no one really wants to face us in the playoffs, mainly because of Sean McVay. I think, the team have shown that they can lose games and they can win games, but it's Sean McVay.
Yeah, yeah. So who we riding with overall? I've already said I go with Rams.
Rams.
Minnesota.
Well, this is
We finally have a difference of opinion for once.
1 in 6, but also I forgot to. This is a collective thing. I'm not doing individual ones. So, like 2 to 1, basically. So
No.
if
we can do a Super Bowl challenge that we'll put onto the Discord that other people
oh
can get
yeah,
involved in
yeah.
and do their own
Oh,
thing.
But
that'd be cool. That'd be cool.
so
I have got one thing to, so I created an eightfold on an ACA for this weekend. If you want to hear it, just a
go
little
for it.
tip of mine. So it's an eightfold. I've got the Chargers to win against Houston, Buccaneers to win at Washington, Green Bay, Philadelphia, over 45.5 points. TJ Hawkinson to score a touchdown anytime. Pittsburgh or Baltimore, under 43.5 points. Isaiah Likely for Baltimore to score a touchdown at any time. I've got the Buffalo Bills to beat Denver and James Cook to score a touchdown at any time. Just stick a pound on, measly pound on. You get £227 back.
Not bad. Now that we've sort of gone through all of those picks, and this was my little tidbit that I wanted to add on.
Hang on. I'm gonna segue into. So, gents, that means that next weekend we will have. We've got the Chargers at the Chiefs, the Ravens at the Bills, the Rams at the Lions, and the Bucks at the Eagles for the divisional. For the divisional round. That is a tasty group of games. Now, Sam came to me before and said, I've got something I want to do right at the end of the episode. And I said, Sam, go for it. So, Sam, go for it.
So, just because obviously we do have our partnership with the Fantasy
Yes.
Game Day app, and obviously we're all involved within fantasy football. I want to get your one. I want one pick, one player from each conference of who you think, not including quarterbacks. So we're taking quarterbacks out of this. Who you think is going to be the highest scoring player this weekend?
This weekend.
So one from the AFC, one from the NFC. Who you think are going to be the top scorers from each conference?
Taking quarterbacks out of it, I'll go a bit basic on the NFC and I'll say Saquon Barkley. In the AFC, this is a really good question.
And we're talking, just PPR.
What is
Yeah, it's
perception?
normal PPR. What was that, Carl?
I didn't say anything. I was waiting.
Right,
I was waiting for you. We're in stone silence here.
I'll go Vlad McConkey. Why not?
You bastard! You took my. Ah!
Can we not have the same one? Can we not agree?
I mean, we can, but I mean, Lam McConkey was one of my players who helped me towards another fantasy league title. Um, yeah, I think McConkey will do well with points per reception in this game. I'm trying to think of who can get the touchdowns more as we go through. Screw it, James Cook. I've changed my mind. I'm gonna go with James Cook for the Buffalo Bills on the AFC and on the NFC side of things. Do you know what? I'm actually gonna go a little bit. I'm gonna go a little bit left field here. I'm gonna say Mike Evans of the Buccaneers.
I love debating Mike Evans, to be fair.
It was either him or Scary Terry. Because I can see one of those. I can see one of those two popping off.
I'm gonna say them popping off. Yeah, I would say potentially Derrick Henry, but I think that Steelers have a decent run defense, so I don't know if they'll just have a bit of luck on him.
Let me just have a look on fantasy
I'm
football.
I'm glad Sam specified this weekend rather than in the playoffs because I was about to scream Jahmyr Gibbs as loud as I could. Um,
Let me see Derek Henry's last stats against the Steelers. He rushed for 162 yards, averaged just under 7 yards a carry, and he also had he also had 27 yards receiving. So
I love the thought that's going into this. It's
I,
really throwing you all off now.
I stopped thinking. I try not to think that much. To be fair, in general, it's too dangerous. But now I've got mine. I'm happy with my selection.
Yeah, I'll stick with my two.
Okay, for the record, mine was going to be Saquon Barkley for the NFC and for the AFC with Scary Terry.
Hang on. Say that again.
Sorry, I realised I'd not been paying attention. When I originally thought of this, I was thinking two of each, and I changed it to one. For the other side, it was going to be, funnily enough, Isaiah Likely. I think he's just going to ball out and get a load of points.
Highly unlikely, but I get your take.
I think it's likely. No, that's a good shout. I like them. Like I said, I'm gonna stick with Saquon Barkley and Lad McConkey.
And I'm going with James Cook for Buffalo and Mike Evans for Tampa. Oh, what? Hang on. No. No, I changed my mind. I know I am going to go Scary Terry. And I've just noticed why. We've talked about the Washington Buccaneers game, right?
Yeah.
There's one key matchup we forgot to mention. Mike Evans versus Marshawn Lattimore.
Yes.
It's like watching The Rock and Stone Cold Steve Austin. There's gonna be a punch up. There's gonna be a punch up.
Can't wait. Can't wait. Right, lads, with that, I realised the time. It's been going on a long time. I'm going to bid you both a good evening. I'm going to bid you both a lovely playoff weekend. And I will see you next week as we preview the divisional rounds.
Let's go.